Hey everyone, Poindexter here. And in this video, we continue the fledgling career of 2nd Lieutenant Josef Bongartz in the game Western Front Ace. In the last video, he failed his first patrol, a ground attack mission, turning back before reaching no man's land, but did score his first victory over a French Nieuport 23. He also survived an encounter with French ace René Funk, managing to slip away and run for home. So, let's see what happens on our second patrol. First, we roll on the mission assignment chart. And today, we'll be flying a balloon busting mission, another special mission, and quite dangerous. Like the ground attack mission, balloon busting requires you to fly to no man's land and perform an attack. But this time, it's on an enemy observation balloon. Shooting down the balloon is not necessary, but an attack run must be attempted for full mission credit. Just like the ground attack mission, you are awarded the equivalent of 2 sorties for experience gain purposes if successful. Our Albatross will be armed with incendiary ammunition, which has the added effect of starting a fire if our shots strike an enemy aircraft's fuel tank. However, we are forbidden to attack two-seater aircraft on the way due to historic rules regarding the Hague Convention of 1907, though we are allowed to defend ourselves if attacked. The primary danger of balloon busting is anti-aircraft fire. Balloon positions were ringed with machine guns and anti-aircraft batteries, making them very dangerous targets to attack. 2nd Lieutenant Bongartz takes off, and we move the endurance marker to the takeoff space. We roll for an encounter, and it's an 11, and once again we encounter a French scout near our airfield. The fighter is another Nieuport 23. We roll for our starting orientation, and we engage the French scout in an advantaged position. In a repeat of the last mission, we'll use our reflexes skill to fire first in the combat round and hopefully cripple this machine. 2nd Lieutenant Bongartz fires and scores 5 hits on the scout. And in the hail of gunfire, the Nieuport's fuel tank is struck, and the scout is set aflame thanks to our incendiary ammunition. There is no need to draw a defensive card for the French scout, as any hit avoidance does not occur thanks to the use of the reflexes skill. The Nieuport falls away, trailing flames, and crashes. Josef Bongartz scores his second victory. Bongartz moves to the friendly territory sector, and we roll for another encounter. It's a 10, and no encounter takes place. We finally make it to no man's land, and begin our attack on the balloon. But first, we must run the gauntlet of anti-aircraft fire. In balloon busting missions, you roll for anti-aircraft fire before and after attacking the balloon. On the first AA attack, we have a chance to not be attacked at all if we roll a 1, 2, or 3, simulating the element of surprise. We roll a 6, so we will be taking AA hits. We roll another die for the number of random hits we'll be taking. It's a 3, so our Albatross takes 3 random hits. And we're hit in some critical spaces. The engine and controls are damaged, which causes our speed to drop and loss of our agility. This will have serious effects on our initiative roll if we are forced into combat. The port struts also take a hit. Now we conduct our attack on the balloon. To destroy it, we need to score at least 3 hits. Josef Bongartz fires, but his guns immediately jam, and no hits are scored. Though we didn't destroy the balloon, or even score any hits, we did attack it, so the mission is a success. However, we'll have to endure another round of AA fire as we fly away. And our Albatross takes 6 more hits. Miraculously, 4 of the hits are canvas strikes, which have no effect, but Pilot Bongartz is hit. We roll for the severity of the wound. It's a 6, killed in action. However, we have our good luck charm, which we will use to re-roll the die for a new result. It's a 4, a serious wound. For the moment, Josef Bongartz is still alive. Bongartz limps back into friendly territory, and we roll for an encounter. It's a 3, and we encounter a 2-seater. Since we're not allowed to engage 2-seaters because of our incendiary ammunition and the fact that we are seriously wounded, we're forced to move to the takeoff landing space. We roll for our last encounter, and it's another 3, a 2-seater encounter, which we ignore. Now it's time to land, and we roll for the weather. It's a 5, and the weather is good. This landing could be a tricky one. We apply a +1 modifier to the landing dice roll since our controls are damaged, and another +1 since our pilot is seriously wounded. We roll a 4, modified to 6, and Pilot Bongartz manages to bring his crate down safely. We check the severity of our pilot's wound by rolling on the C2 Serious Wound Resolution chart. It's an 8. Josef Bongartz suffers multiple injuries and will be out of combat for a month. For downing his second aircraft, Josef Bongartz is awarded the Iron Cross First Class and earns another prestige point. For wounds suffered in combat, he is also awarded the Wound Badge in Black, earning him a 4th prestige point. We make note of the successful balloon mission, and Pilot Bongartz spends the month of October recovering from his wounds. After spending a month recuperating from wounds sustained in battle, Josef Bongartz is back and ready to continue his career. It is now November 1916, and we roll for the number of contact patrols we'll be flying in this new month. And we'll be flying 4 contact patrols. Now that Second Lieutenant Bongartz has the prestige to do so, we'll upgrade our Albatross D1 to the D2 model. The D2 is virtually the same as the D1, except the D2 has a firepower of 5 instead of 4, the highest firepower rating in the game. Pilot Bongartz loses 2 sorties while familiarizing himself with his new scout. Now we're ready to begin our 3rd patrol. We roll on the mission assignment chart. It's a 5, an offensive patrol. This mission requires us to fly into enemy territory and back again. Whether we engage in combat is irrelevant. Mission success only dictates that we fly to that location. Of course, we'll do what we can along the way. We move to the takeoff space and burn an endurance. We roll for a possible encounter. It's a 6, no encounter. We proceed to friendly territory and roll again. It's an 8, and the skies remain clear of enemies. We move into no man's land, and the chance of encountering enemy aircraft increases. We roll an 8, and we finally run into French scouts. The flight consists of Nieuport 21s. We roll for starting orientation, and, once again, we start advantaged over the Frenchmen. We'll engage the scout, using our reflexes to fire first in the combat round. Pilot Bongartz fires and scores 4 hits. 2 of the hits strike canvas and have no effect, but a 3rd hit knocks out the Nieuport's forward weapons, and the 4th strikes the fuel tank, causing a leak. The Nieuport draws a defensive card and performs a chandelle, improving position by 2 since the Nieuport 21 has a rotary engine, and the French scout now has the advantage. The damage avoidance is negated since we used our reflexes. Now we determine the final initiative. The Nieuport 21 has the same speed and agility as our Albatross, so both scouts start with a total of 12. We roll for final orientation. The French scout rolls a 3 and the Albatross a 6, a difference of 3 in our favor. This means we gain 1 position on the Frenchman and are now head-on. The Nieuport is in trouble, with knocked-out weapons and a leaking fuel tank. Since he has no offensive capability at all, he will continue going defensive until he has an advantage and is able to break away. Fortunately, we'll be able to continue combat without the danger of being shot at. Pilot Bongartz fires at the Nieuport and potentially scores 5 hits. The Nieuport goes defensive and pulls an Immelmann, avoiding all damage and improving position by 2. The Frenchman is now tailing our Albatross. We determine final initiative by rolling 1 die for each aircraft. The Nieuport rolls a 4 and the Albatross a 2, a difference of 2 in the enemy's favor, which causes no change in position. This would normally be an awful position to be in, but the Nieuport is crippled and cannot fire. Since he is tailing us, his disengagement is automatic, and the wily Frenchman breaks off and flies away. We continue into enemy territory and roll for an encounter. It's a 4, and no encounter takes place. Mission complete. We head back to our airfield and cross over no man's land once again. We roll for an encounter and come across a 2-seater flying over the front. We roll on the A3C 2-seater encounter chart for the type of aircraft. It's a 7, a Nieuport 12. Pilot Bongartz decides to attack the 2-seater. We place the B-10 2-seater display close by. In the 3rd panel on the right side of the display, we see the specifications for the Nieuport 12. It has a speed of 9, agility of 2, has rear guns, and has a rotary engine. The image on this panel, which shows a German 2-seater, is irrelevant, as we'll only be using the damage trackers below it. We'll place the Nieuport 12 marker in the space at the top. Now we roll for starting position. It's a 10, and the 2-seater starts advantaged over our Albatross. 2-seaters fight defensively, doing everything they can to escape an encounter. With the Nieuport 12 starting advantage, the chances of his escaping are much greater. If the 2-seater rolls a 4 or less, he will successfully break off. He rolls a 6, and the attempt fails. Moreover, we gain a position shift on the Nieuport, and are now head-on. We now roll for the final initiative. Adding the speed and agility of the Nieuport 12 gives a result of 11. Our Albatross starts with a 12. We roll the die, and the Nieuport rolls a 5, and the Albatross a 1, a difference of 3 in favor of the 2-seater, and we are once again disadvantaged. The 2-seater attempts to disengage once again, and again rolls a 6, losing a position, and we're back to being head-on once again. We roll for the final initiative, and both combatants roll a 1, which gives the Albatross a 1-point difference, which means no change in orientation. We can finally begin firing at the Frenchman now that we have him under our guns. Since the Nieuport 12 has a rotary engine, it will perform a tight turn defensive maneuver, which will shift position 2 spaces in their favor. Hopefully, our shot will be decisive. Pilot Bongartz fires and scores 4 hits. Unfortunately, it's not decisive. 3 hits have no effect, with 1 knocking out the rear guns. The Nieuport pulls a tight turn and is now tailing our Albatross. We roll for final initiative, and the final total is 14 for the Nieuport and 18 for the Albatross, a difference of 4 in our favor, and our orientation shifts from tailed to disadvantage. The enemy 2-seater will try a 3rd time to disengage from the fight. And this time he succeeds on a roll of 4, and the Nieuport 12 manages to get away. Pilot Bongartz moves into friendly territory, and we roll for an encounter. It's a 7, and no encounter takes place. We move into the final landing space and roll for encounters one last time. It's another 7, and the skies remain clear of enemy aircraft. We roll for the weather over the airfield, and the weather is good. Pilot Bongartz took no damage, so it's an automatic safe landing. Though our mission was a success, we were unable to score any victories. With that, we've reached the end of the video. It was a world of extremes flying these 2 missions. Second Lieutenant Bongartz was technically killed on his 2nd patrol, and only his good luck charm saved him from certain death. After a month spent recuperating, his 3rd patrol was practically a milk run by comparison, suffering no damage whatsoever, even when flying over enemy territory. Though he chased 2 French aircraft all over the sky, he scored no victories. Still, both missions were successful, and the experience we gained as a result will serve us well in the near future, if we survive the next mission. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next patrol.